If I'm being honest, the original Royal Enfield Himalayan was kind of a dog. It may have been great at what it was designed for, namely carrying people slowly around the Himalayas and in India, but for the American market, it really left a lot to be desired. Is the all-new, fully redesigned Himalayan 450 more of the same? Well, Royal Enfield flew me out to Utah to find out. This video is sponsored by our friends at Flying Eyes. So let me start out with a grain of salt because I only got to ride this motorcycle for one long day. So I don't normally like to do a full review until I've had the thing for 1,000 miles. I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, I might get the opportunity to do a longer term review. But for now, consider this an initial review based on limited time with the bike. But what I saw and what I experienced, I really liked and I'm excited to share with you. So I don't know if you remember, but I did a test ride on the original Himalayan 411 a couple years ago. And while I thought it was a very approachable and easy to ride bike with a lot of visual character, I found it incredibly lacking at highway speeds. I sometimes get asked why it never appears on my lists of best adventure bikes or best beginner adventure bikes, and it's because I honestly found it hard to recommend as an adventure bike if it can't consistently cruise at 65 or 70 miles an hour on the highway. So when I read about all the updates they were planning for the new Himalayan 450, I was eager to swing a leg over it, and I jumped at the chance when invited to take part in the North American launch in Utah. So before I talk to you about my experience, let me just give you a full rundown of the specs of the new 450, and I think if you are familiar at all with the old Himalayan, you're going to notice a lot of differences. So this is a single-cylinder liquid-cooled 452cc engine with electronic fuel injection and 40 horsepower. That is a lot more than the last bike. It has a 6-speed transmission, 7.8 inches of front and rear suspension travel with a Showa front fork. It has 9.1 inches of ground clearance, a standard seat height of 32.5 inches or 33.3 inches. It's a 2-position seat. And if you get the low seat, you can make that 31.7 or 32.5 inches. So a very approachable seat height for a new rider or a shorter rider. It has a curb weight of 432 pounds, a 4.5 gallon fuel capacity. It has a 21-inch front wheel and a 17-inch rear wheel, and a very cool and unique 4-inch round TFT display with phone connectivity and full map navigation powered by Google Maps, as well as media controls. The standard models come with tubed tires, but there are available tubeless tires coming on the higher trim model, which is arriving in the next couple months. And the starting MSRP for the Himalayan 450 is $5,799 US. So let's start out with the pros. What did I like about this bike? Well, the very first thing we did on these bikes was turn right out of the hotel onto a 4-lane highway where the speed limit seemed to be nothing more than a suggestion, as evidenced by the tanker trucks pulling 3 trailers passing us at 80 miles an hour. This motorcycle immediately proved to me that it was leaps and bounds better than its predecessor. I had zero trouble getting to 65, then 70, then 75, then 80, and at one point on the way back from our ride, I allegedly got it up to 95 miles an hour. And that is with my corpulent and wind-resistant posterior aboard. The biggest Achilles heel of the previous bike, solved. Almost doubling the horsepower will do that for you. To me, riding this bike feels more like a 650 than a 450 power-wise. It sounds weird, but that is sort of, if I rode it and you didn't tell me what it was, I would have guessed a 650. What about the suspension? Well, it's a Showa suspension. It's a massive upgrade. Still, I do not understand how a non-adjustable suspension on a budget-friendly bike is so good. I hit a surprise water bar into a G-out at about 60 miles an hour, and it didn't buck me or even leave its line. It's so great, even with someone my size on board. I didn't bottom it out one time. I was expecting the suspension to suck because it is a cheap bike with an entry-level non-adjustable suspension, and Ian and I both spent the whole day telling each other how blown away we were by how good the suspension turned out to be. Styling-wise, and I admit this is personal preference, but I really love the way they've managed to create a bike with modern features. It's got the screen, it's got ABS, it's got modes, it's got fuel injection, it has navigation, but somehow keep it looking classic, looking old. This is a hipster bike if you want it to be. It's a stark contrast to the massive plastic fairings on the competition. There isn't much out there that looks like this bike. So if you love it, that's a huge pro. If you don't, well, you're maybe not going to be as interested in this bike. But I love that they're all in on that styling and it's very unique. This bike is approachable and easy to ride. I would put my kid on it. I would teach my wife to ride on it. It has an easy throttle. It shifts smoothly. Even clutchless upshifts go very smoothly. I tested that a few times. It has an approachable seat height and a very manageable weight. It's a very beginner-friendly bike, but it has the chops to still be fun for advanced riders if you ride the piss out of it, which we did. They did not hold back. There was no, be careful with these. We want you to take it easy on this ride. They put us on the bike and had us follow a guide who was a lot better rider than us and dared us to keep up. The bike is incredibly stable. It's one of the most stable off-road riding platforms I have been on. That was super impressive to me throughout the entire day. The stock standing position is awesome. I don't feel like I need risers. I feel like my knees lock in exactly where I need them. It was clearly designed with standing up off-road riding in mind in a way that I don't think the original was. The ABS is incredibly easy to turn on and off. There's a mode button on the handlebars. It has 4 modes total, 2 power modes and ABS on and off, so the total of that is 4. And you just hit the button till you see the mode you want, you let off the button, and you're in that mode. So even though it turns the ABS back on when you turn the bike off, 2 button presses and it's back off again and you're on your way. I like that a lot. Value-wise, for $57.99, it is an unbelievable amount of bike for the money. You can do just about anything you're gonna wanna do on this bike, whether it's ride cross country or tackle BDRs. I would feel comfortable recommending this bike to you. Now, reliability is always a concern with a non-Japanese bike. When I posted that I was going to this launch, I got a few comments about, oh, those Royal Enfields are not very reliable. Royal Enfield has answered that concern as well. The new Himalayan 450 comes with a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty with roadside assistance. To me, that screams confidence because no company wants to be paying for tow truck drivers all over the country. They don't think they're gonna have to pay that out over the course of 3 years, and that to me says they feel like they've got a good product on their hands. Speaking of warranty, did you know that if you register your Flying Eyes sunglasses, you can extend the 90-day warranty out to a full year with replacement guarantee? Not that you're likely to need it because these glasses can take some real abuse. Are you afraid to buy expensive, nice sunglasses because you're a clumsy lummox like me and you're constantly breaking stuff? Well, you're gonna love Flying Eyes. Check this out. Now I'm gonna go get my dirt bike. See that? Look at unscathed. These are the most flexible, durable, and comfortable sunglasses for motorcyclists. They fit under your helmet, no problem. I've actually got a pair of prescription glasses that I've been wearing like crazy. So I am excited to recommend to you the best sunglasses for motorcycling, whether on or off-road. Check out the link in the description and use promo code DORK in the road to save 10%. I put a ton of miles on these Golden Eagles in particular and looking forward to wearing them on the NorCal BDR, which I'm leaving for in just a couple of days. So check them out. And now back to your regularly scheduled dorkness. So that's what I like about the new Himalayan 450. Let's talk about what I didn't like about it. No bike is perfect, and this is no different. Number 1 con is that damn front fender. One of the first questions I asked in the breakout sessions they had us kind of going through talking to the designers was, what's up with the weird double fender? Aren't you concerned that that front fender is going to get mud caked up in there or get rocks up in there and lock up that front wheel? The designer we talked to was not concerned about that at all. 3 hours later, I'm out on a ride in some sticky Utah mud, and guess what happens? My front wheel locks up. I'm spinning the rear tire at 30 miles an hour trying to push a stationary front tire up a muddy hill in the hopes that it'll start moving again and clear out. We ended up taking the fenders off of 8 or 10 of these bikes to get them to the top of the hill, cleaning all the mud out, and then we put the fenders back on. So that low fender is a concern. If I had one of these bikes, I would take a Dremel to where the fork guards connect to the lower fender and just cut the lower fender off and keep the fork guards. There is a high fender too, that's what's weird, and I think it looks so much better without the low fender anyway. So easy solution to that problem, and I just don't think they think it's gonna be that common because they told us that these bikes are used 75% of the time for touring, for riding on the road, and very few people will take them into even as difficult an off-road situation as we did. Not that it can't stand up to that, but they aren't building it with that in mind, and so for most people, keeping water off of the engine and the rider is a higher priority. The bike is so stable, which is great, but the side effect to that is it feels weirdly resistant to carving corners or turning in compared to my other bikes. That or the one I rode had twisted forks or something. It had been down hard by somebody who'd ridden it before me because nobody else mentioned it, so maybe it's just me. The bike feels heavier than it should be or than it is. I've ridden a lot of similar weight bikes and this one just kind of carries the weight weirdly. However, Ian was able to hold the bike at a 45-degree angle with no problem and then pick it back up, so maybe I'm just like a weak baby or something. I don't know. That is purely a subjective feeling. Biggest con for me was the stock tires, but I always complain about stock tires. They're just not great for anything beyond a gravel road. They're clearly not great in the mud. I wouldn't want them in the sand, but if 75% of the people who buy this bike are staying on the road, they're probably fine. If you never hit anything worse than a gravel road, they're probably fine. They'd be great tires to get you started on, and then as you just started to figure out what kind of riding you're gonna do more of, I'm just always erring on the side of more traction. I will take a 90/10 tire every single time, no matter what the consequences to road noise, comfort, and longevity, because I just wanna be prepared in that one situation. So I personally don't love the stock tires, but they're probably okay for most people. They're sort of a similar tread pattern to the Pirelli Scorpion STRs that seem to come on every bike that gets released in America. So what's my final conclusion after a day with the new Royal Enfield Himalayan? Well, the old Himalayan was a dog, or maybe even a donkey, you could call it. It was slow and steady, but could carry your gear up the hill. The new Himalayan, to me, is a mountain goat. It'll get you where you need to go. It's maybe not the fastest bike, but it's a lot more fun and exciting to ride than the old 411, and it's no donkey, in my opinion. It's a very impressive package for the price, and their commitment to it seems to be very strong. They walked us through the whole design process. They have a ton of time and thought behind the design. There are a ton of awesome factory accessories coming out and available, and all of the accessories have the same warranty for the bike, that is 3 years, and they would not sell anything that they haven't tested for thousands of kilometers already. So again, an impressive commitment to forcing their way into a crowded ADV market with an aggressively priced bike that punches above its weight class, in my opinion. They will sell a ton of these worldwide, and for good reason, but is it good enough for adventures in the wide open spaces we have out here in the American West? The 411 certainly wasn't. The 450 absolutely is. It has the chops to cruise on the freeway and is shockingly capable off-road. It's a bike that would make a great first motorcycle. It's also a great first adventure bike if you're coming over from street or upgrading from a dual sport. It's also a great bike for someone with off-road experience that just wants a simple, low-cost, easy-to-ride bike that'll take them anywhere they want to go. It's in the running, in my opinion, for the best first ADV bike ever, and somehow it's cheaper than all of the others. If you're looking at things like a KLR 650, a DR 650, a CRF 300L Rally, a CB 500X, or the new version, the NX, a Versys X300, KTM 390, or any other smallish adventure bike, this one should be on your list. It's better than all of them at something, and it's also cheaper and has a better warranty than just about all of them as well. Again, I want to thank Flying Eyes for sponsoring this video. I want to thank Royal Enfield for inviting me to the North American launch of the Himalayan 450, and I'm hopeful that maybe I'll be able to get my hands on one for some long-term testing, because I want to see how it holds up over time. That's my only big question mark about the bike at this point. So if that's something you'd like to see, maybe leave a comment in the description so our friends at Royal Enfield will see how neat it would be to loan me one for a while. Just leave a comment that says, "Give Dork a bike," in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!